Refugee Day 2024, a dream for safety, inclusion, and equal treatment for all refugees. Zafar Ahmad Abdul Ghani writes, President of MERHROM. Year 2024 witnessed more people become displaced persons, asylum seekers, and refugees. Both Palestinians and Rohingya have been victims of genocide for long decades, but there is still no international solution. The absence of political will and the economic interest and investment cause Palestinians and Rohingya to continue to be victims of genocide without protection and justice. Currently, both Palestinian and Rohingya are continuously killed in many series of bombings and shootings. Children and women continue to be brutally killed and raped. Cruelty by humans in this century is mind-boggling. What actually got them to that point? The UN Secretary-General H.E. Antonio Gutteres in his message on World Refugee Day 2024 highlighted that more than 120 million people around the world are forcibly displaced, including 43.5 million refugees. These figures reflect our failure to end conflict, war, and genocide around the globe. On 18th of June 2024, UN Human Rights Chief, Mr. Volker Turk expressed his concerns on the situation in Mongdal Township. He highlighted that Rohingya have nowhere to flee and are trapped in western Myanmar. In recent development, the Arakan Army, AA, ordered the Rohingya in Mongdal Township to evacuate ahead of a planned offensive. This is deeply worrying as they have nowhere to flee. Until now, Rohingya in the affected area in Buaidong and Mongdal are still under the control of the Arakan Army and do not have food, water, medicine, shelter, etc. Before that, on 19th of May 2024, Mr. Volker Turk said, I am deeply alarmed by reports of renewed violence and property destruction in Buaidong Township in Myanmar's northern Rakhine State, resulting in the displacement of potentially tens of thousands of civilians, mainly Rohingya. The massive destruction caused by the Arakan Army, AA, is beyond imagination. They continued the genocidal attack on the Rohingya that was previously carried out by the Myanmar military. Without access to humanitarian aid, Rohingya will die due to hunger, no treatment, and no shelter. How long can they survive? The AA has seized control of 11 of Rakhine State's 17 townships. We can imagine thousands more Rohingya will be killed in massive destruction following offensive operations for the remaining townships in the Rakhine State. This needs immediate actions by the United Nations, EU, and ASEAN. The war in Syria, Yemen, Sudan, Ukraine, Congo, etc. forced millions of civilians to flee their countries while many more were trapped inside the countries. The need for humanitarian aid increases tremendously while the international humanitarian aid has decreased tremendously. We have no other option but to stop conflict, war, and genocide. On this World Refugee Day 2024, Myanmar Ethnic Rohingya Human Rights Organization Malaysia, MERHROM, called upon United Nations, EU, OIC, ASEAN, world leaders, civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, and the international community to increase efforts to end conflict, war, and genocide, and to continue their humanitarian aid to all refugees around the world, as well as building our resilience to face various challenges as refugees living in exile while waiting for a durable solution to come. This year World Refugee Day focuses on solidarity with refugees, for a world where refugees are welcomed. This is our hope, but the reality is not always like this. Refugees' life is full of challenges and hardship wherever we end up. We urge the United Nations Security Council to send a peacekeeping force to save the civilians in the affected areas. We urge the ASEAN to meet urgently to discuss the situation in Rakhine State in Myanmar and initiate actions to stop the genocide and atrocities in Myanmar. ASEAN needs to address this as people of Myanmar are fleeing to neighboring countries for protection while thousands of Rohingya are trapped in Rakhine State. Today, we call upon everyone to end hate speech and xenophobia against asylum seekers and refugees as the impacts are severe on us. The increase of hate speech and xenophobia against refugees since COVID-19 pandemic resulted in refugees receiving threats, physical abuse, harassment, and defamation which put our lives at risk and jeopardized our physical health, mental health, and well-being. This made our lives more difficult and challenging. Millions of asylum seekers and refugees continuously facing lack of humanitarian aid resulting in hunger and malnutrition, especially for babies and children. While other children have access to education and a safe environment, refugee children were denied formal education. We call upon UNICEF and UN Women to address this issue. We are grateful for the international support and solidarity with refugees, but that alone is not enough as we need a permanent solution to our plights. Please help us to find a permanent solution for us to return home safely with dignity and to rebuild our broken lives. We dream for equal treatment for all refugees around the globe, and we hope for a peaceful and safe environment for the vulnerable refugees where our lives and security are ensured. Please help us to end conflict, war, and genocide. Thank you. Tell no, +6